Sexual harassment is an everyday reality in both formal and informal workplaces in India. Several survivors have called out their harassers on social media using the MeToo hashtag, braving severe social and professional backlash. But countless others still suffer in silence. In this video, we share stories of two women for whom things panned out very differently. Sharanya was a successful media professional. In her younger days, she had learned to play the veena, but after marriage and the arrival of her two children, she switched to Carnatic vocal. Lugging the veena around and finding the time and space to practice with children hovering in the background was proving to be a huge challenge. Although she did not perform in public, she used to sing at small functions, maybe a bhajan here or an invocation song there, and so on and so forth. She was a reasonably good singer, except for a little nervousness while foraying into the upper octave, and therefore she was on the lookout for a voice coach. And then one day she chanced upon an ad in the newspapers put out by a voice coach with theatre experience to boot. One-on-one, 2-week intensive workshop guaranteed to make you use your voice to the best ability and make it your most valuable asset, it said. She quickly called the number on the ad and made inquiries and met up with a young man. What tilted the scales in his favor was the fact that he was already known to her family. At that very first meeting, he made her sing a few lines of a song and the Arohanam and Avrohanam, and seemed to think that hers wasn't a major problem. Just a few voice exercises and breathing techniques, and she should be sorted. He handed out the workshop notes, and then they decided on the dates that they would meet. The next day, Sharanya reported promptly, like a good and dutiful student. The voice coach taught her breathing exercises and some voice techniques. It was all nothing new. This was stuff that she had learnt earlier in many workshops and had completely forgotten about, not consistently practicing them as much as she should have. Since she had a singing assignment coming up shortly, she asked the coach if she could sing the song and would he please feedback. I have another appointment in the next 1 hour, so why don't we do this over the phone, he suggested. That sounded good to her. So at the appointed hour, she came on the line and sang the song for him, and then he began offering his comments. The way he spoke, it was pretty obvious that he was a little high. And he'd also had one too many to smoke, for it showed in his voice. "You're hitting all the right notes," he said, "except that the voice should come from deep down. Only then it will have more depth and body. Remember to ask me to show you how in the class tomorrow. he said. Happy to have got some positive feedback, she showed up for class the next day. This time the class was in the terrace room, and it looked like there was no one else in the house. And curiously, the voice coach had what looked like a doctor's examination table in the room. Lie down on this, he said, poker-faced. Sharanya was a little taken aback. This? She asked, while a countless number of scenarios played in her head. And then pulling herself together, she thought, what is this guy going to do? After all, he's a kid. And she climbed up on the table and lay down. And then the coach placed his right palm on her abdomen and spread out her fingers and moved them around under the pretext of locating the diaphragm and showing her from where the voice should emanate. She felt very vulnerable in that position, with her lying down, this young man standing beside her in that empty house. Something just didn't feel right. She was so nervous that she engaged him in constant chatter about voice and breathing and stuff like that, and couldn't wait for him to finish. And when he did, she sat up on that table, straightened out her hair, and bolted down the staircase. The next time you want to practice a song, we can do it in the car when I travel from point A to point B. That way we will both save a lot of time, he suggested. Sharanya nodded mechanically. There were a few more classes to go for the workshop. To hell with it, she thought. Voice or no voice, there was no going back to this creep. There was just no knowing what he would come up with next. It seemed too big a risk to take. "17-year-old Sashireka was one of a family with 4 children. One of her siblings, Naresh, was a gender non-conforming person, and their 2 older sisters were married. With the relatives ostracizing the family on account of Naresh's gender identity, Sashireka's mother ran the family far away from their prying eyes with great determination. Sashireka, after dropping out from school, worked in the garment industry. Naresh earned small amounts by doing jobs like removing the evil eye or joining in community dances. Naresh would go into a trance whenever the gods were out on procession and would answer questions that people posed relating to their troubles. Naresh doted on their sister Sashireka and bought her a lot of gifts and baubles and trinkets to keep her happy. Sashireka was happy to go to the garment industry and help supplement the family income. The supervisor at the garment factory, Mr. Devanayagam, was already married and he had a glad eye, but many of the new recruits like Sashireka were unaware of this fact. He would constantly tease the girls, comment on their clothes, coin nicknames for them like Style Missy, Figure, Gundu and such like. And worse still, he would get physical at the drop of a hat and touch and pat the girls inappropriately. The silly girls didn't pay much heed to it and thought that the boss was being overly social. One day, when Sashireka was laying out the material on the table, Devanagam came from behind her and grabbed her by the buttocks. Sashireka was shell-shocked. She was also very afraid. This man was her boss, so how was she to react? But being a habitual offender, Devanagam found enough opportunities to catch her alone and give her a tickle there and a pat there and so on and so forth. And then one day, things really got out of hand. Devanagam called Sashireka to his room under the pretext of discussing something work-related, shut the door, covered her mouth, and forced himself on her. And in time, this became a regular occurrence. Sashireka was confused, and she was even beginning to wonder whether he was in love with her and she with him. And then that month, Sashireka got pregnant. She did not tell her mother or Naresh about this. She was very afraid. She knew that Naresh, who doted on her, would be very upset and angry about her situation. So after deliberating over her situation for a long time, she decided that before the pregnancy began to show, she would meet Devanagam and tell him what happened and ask him to marry her. And when she actually did, that is when harsh reality struck. Devanagam ruled out the possibility of marrying her right away because he was already married. And as for her situation, why wasn't she more careful? He wanted to know. Sashireka felt that her head would explode that very minute. So after all, this was not about love or affection. This was just her boss and superior using his power and authority and manipulating her like a plaything to satisfy his animal instincts. She really felt cheated. She also felt that she should have handled things differently and been more vigilant. She couldn't bear the thought of the shame and disrepute that she would bring on her family, and she felt that she had betrayed Naresh and all the love and affection that was showered on her. So later that evening, as she lay in bed, she reached out for that packet of rat poison that she had bought earlier in the day as she was weighing her options, and she swallowed it in one big gulp. Sashireka had snuffed out her life on her own volition. It was the only way she knew by which she could reclaim her honor and that of the family.